Hello and welcome to the Anyone Can Play Guitar podcast,
which gives you, the listener, a series of hints and pointers on your journey as a musical artist.
providing you with interviews from those in the music industry, along with our own experiences.
Ben and James shine some light on the many pitfalls and opportunities that being a musician has to offer.
Last week we spoke to Mark Dufford of Chester University about being a star, being a fan, entertaining people, ideas and values, and collaboration. This week we're talking to vocal coach Nicola Milan about breathing, placing your muscles, vocal tone, and conveying emotion.
Welcome to episode 9 with me, Ben, and him,
James.
The thing about the preamble, well, actually, the thing about this interview itself, which I quite liked, was when you set it up, it was vocals, as in just you and vocals, and I'm not suggesting by any part the benefits or non-benefits of your vocal range, but you think you spent more time doing this interview on vocals than you did in the band.
It's true, but well, yeah. I mean, I found that I probably spent more time, and this is obviously with the gift of hindsight.
Yes.
I spent more time like trying to get new fans via the various social media tools that were available at the time, or writing lyrics, or booking gigs, or like that's what I spent my time on.
Mm-hmm.
But as the vocalist in the band, the amount of time that I actually spent thinking about any of the things that we're going to hear from Nicola was minimal compared to all those other things.
I think
there's
there's three bits to it, really. Like, for me as a guitarist, I quite happily play the guitar to relax and for enjoyment, not even to learn it.
Yeah.
Just to like go, I want to play around. Then sometimes you get a riff from it.
Yeah. Well,
So
I'll happily sort of just pick up I can't really play the guitar that well, but I'll happily sit in my room and just play around on it. But what I wouldn't do is sit around in my room and just sing.
Try get your skills in. Yeah, that was the second thing I was going to... It takes a level of confidence to go, right, I've got nothing on at the minute. I could watch TV, or I could practice singing. Which, really, you should be doing.
Well, exactly, because I was the singer in the band, because there's a bit of, like, to start with, almost feeling a bit daft, for no logical reason why you should. But this is the third point, because everyone can technically, not technically as in technical, technically as in I can't sing, but technically I can sing. I've got a voice and I can project some kind of... Might not be any good, but you can sing.
Yeah, so because anyone can do it, it's like, unless you're really good at it, it's kind of like, well, I'm not going to sing in my room by myself. Whereas the guitar's like, oh yeah, he plays the guitar. It's like, it's a skill that he's learned or she's learned over time.
But everyone's got a voice.
Yeah, and singing in the shower, or in your car, or even on karaoke, it's kind of like, well, it just comes out. I don't have to like buy a guitar, learn what these 6 strings do, and then find how to do an A, B, C, D,
E,
F,
I think
G.
Foolishly, I probably just thought, well, I'm not a great singer, and my voice is what it is, and therefore that's what it is, as opposed to thinking, like anything, it can be improved. Because I'll have known that, but I think at the time it was just with all the other things that I spent
the
time
first
on
gig or whatever,
for associate the band, working on vocal was, and not just vocal, all of the other things that Nicola goes into, which were some really obvious, but other things that I just wouldn't ever have got to the point of thinking, right, yes, I need to dedicate X amount of minutes per day to getting better at strengthening those muscles.
Yeah, because like to give yourself some credit before getting an interview, you did bring a bottle of water with you on stage each night, so at least you had lubricated vocal cords.
That's true. Yeah.
And it wasn't beer or whatever. It was actually a legitimate thing to drink.
Yeah.
That wasn't going to damage them as you were going. And we weren't a shouty band.
No.
And the only time you did shout was when we were in places that had you just couldn't hear yourself.
Yeah, there was no monitors feed.
Yeah, so I think, rather than you and I trying to make up what we should have sound like, let's listen to Nicola.
Hello, Nicola, and welcome to the podcast. First of all, it's great to have you here.
Looking forward to being here.
No, good stuff. So I believe you've recently moved to London. Is that right?
Yes, it's actually not that recent now. Well, it depends on how you describe recent, but February. I've been here since February, so I kind of feel like I've done the seasons now because it's gone from cold to warm to cold again.
Yeah, the warm bit tends to be quite brief in the UK.
That's that.
So I suppose just to very quickly kick off, would you like to give our listeners a bit of an introduction about yourself, what it is you do, and sort of how long you've been in the music business?
Yeah, sure. I suppose I went pro in inverted commas. I mean, in 2008. I guess it depends. I mean, I've always done music. I can't remember not doing music. I've been doing that for that long. I think I came out of the womb doing music. So it really becomes sort of part of who you are. But I guess the itch to kind of do more with it sort of grew from, I suppose, the year 2000 onwards. And then I remember being over at a friend's house over in Sydney, and we've been doing some just random gigs and stuff. And I said, you know what? I actually want to do this professionally. And then once I kind of stated that out loud, it just became this mission. So I went and auditioned for the Western Australian Academy of Performing Arts, which is, I suppose its claim to fame is that's where Hugh Jackman went to, and James Morrison, the trumpeter.
Okay.
Got in there, and then that kind of really gave me, it kind of consolidated my skills, I guess, because, I mean, obviously it's, academically based, and they kind of make you follow a curriculum, which isn't always the best way to learn music, but the networks and stuff that I made and the connections with other musicians was the most valuable thing that kind of came out of that. And I suppose for me as a singer, it kind of getting in was the positive reinforcement that, yes, you actually have a decent voice and you can do this.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's weird. Like as a musician, sometimes you need someone else to tell you that before you believe it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So it kind of gave me a bit of a confidence boost. And then, I just studied heaps, started gigging heaps, and eventually ended up doing it full time. So throughout all of that, I was teaching. I've done some teaching before. I went to South Korea and I actually taught at an English school, and my parents are both teachers. And I'd always done sort of teaching-based things. Like I went to America and I did that Camp America program, and so you're kind of mentoring students and stuff. And it's always been something that I've really, really enjoyed. And so, sort of sharing musical knowledge was just something that was kind of a natural progression from what I was doing. And you get a lot of joy out of it as well, actually teaching, because not only do you kind of feel like you're giving back and kind of like promoting, like fostering the community, but you learn a lot from teaching, and you get a lot of like really positive vibes from it, because nothing makes people happier than when, you do something with music that you're proud of, or like you achieve something, like you perform on stage for the first time, or you finally record a song and you release it. Like this buzz that you get from doing something like that is like none other. And if you're helping someone to get that buzz and achieve that goal, the feedback, like the feel good vibes that you get from it is just like, it's amazing. So I guess that's kind of really what sort of set me on the whole path of, putting singing lessons up online and sort of expanding my audience through Singer's Secret, which is the online platform that I run, which is basically an online portal for singers. I do specialize in jazz and blues, but so, people that enjoy gospel and soul and jazz, blues, obviously, but folk and kind of I suppose I cater for more of the non sort of pop or hard rock kind of genres. because every teacher sort of specializes in something, and that's kind of what I do the best, because, there are slight differences in the different genres that you teach when you're teaching, whether it be guitar or drums or whatever. You want to learn a particular style of music, it's best to try and find a teacher that kind of knows the ins and outs of that particular genre. So yeah, that's what I focus on with my online portal, Singer's Secret, and I just do lots of singing stuff on there.
Yeah, brilliant. And it's that website that I found yourself, and I've been spending a bit of time over the past sort of week just going through some of the videos, and there's some really great content that you've got on there, and I guess it would be good to just go through some of those now, sort of with our listeners, and then they can obviously go to the website. We'll put a link into the show notes on where they can find more videos from yourself and more great content to look afterwards. So I think one of the things I was saying to you before that we started, when myself and Ben started in our bands, we were very clueless and naive to a lot of different things, and sort of vocals in general was something that I didn't give a great deal of thought to at the time, perhaps compared to what I should have done. So there's some great tips that you've got, and one of the things you've got is a number of what you've called vocal hacks on your website, which I really liked. So
yeah, I mean, can I actually take it even sort of further back than that?
Yeah, please.
Like when someone is starting to, like, I don't know, it's this weird thing that when you want to learn the guitar, for example, you know that you're going to have to start with the A, B, C, D, learning the notes, getting your fingers and your muscle memory used to, where to place your fingers and how to strum the strings and create rhythm and all these sort of really basic things. But with singing, for some reason, people think they can go from zero to massive belting and like extreme awesomeness straight away without developing your muscle memory and learning how to place your notes, just like you would need to learn for any other instrument. It is absolutely the same. But for some reason, people seem to just skip it. And what happens as a result, it's like if you were trying to learn a really fast riff on the guitar, but you didn't slow it down and you didn't develop that muscle memory, what would happen is you would just stuff the riff up every time. And what's worse is that you would actually develop poor muscle memory that got in your way of performing that riff perfectly. So what happens with singers is, by the time they come to have singing lessons, you're never working with a clean slate, because everyone's got a voice, like their instruments inside them. It's not like they have to go out and purchase a guitar and say, right, now I've got my guitar, now I'm going to get lessons. You've already got a voice in there and you've been using it your whole life to speak and sing or whatever. So you're never dealing with a blank slate singer that doesn't have any, excuse my language, fucked up muscle memory that's going to get in the way of them singing properly. So the first thing that any decent vocal coach will do is help you to learn how to place your muscles properly and start to use the instrument in a correct way that's going to, stop you from developing sore throats, raspiness, and once you can kind of learn how the actual instrument works, the rest of it is so much easier because you've kind of learned the basics, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's a great point. And so you mentioned they're placing muscles properly. So what does that actually involve?
Well, when you start learning how to sing, you realise that you have all these muscles inside your face and your head that you never realised you had. And it's weird because you can actually start moving like these muscles that some of them are internal muscles. For example, your diaphragm is an internal muscle that, you have to kind of really concentrate to learn to move. And so, yeah, it's kind of working out how to tap into that muscle and then how to make sure that it's working effectively, and how then you can kind of get it, once you've got it kind of working effectively by sort of slowing down the process and kind of going through the motions, then making it sort of second nature, just as if you were kind of learning a fast riff on the guitar and your fingers were learning the muscle memory.
Okay, no, that's useful. I mean, one of the other videos that I was watching on your website was around breathing in general. And that was quite useful to. You talk about getting the diaphragm working and sort of strengthening it. So, how I'm interested. How often do you sort of work on those sorts of muscles?
All the time. Because as a singer, you are a muscular-based instrument. So we're different from every other instrument in that you can't go out and just buy a new muscle if you screw it up. You've got one set of strings here, you know what I mean? You've got to make sure that they last. So breathing is literally the foundation of all singing. It's kind of like your I like to describe your diaphragm as kind of like the engine room of your instrument. It's like if you try and drive a car without an engine, you're not going to get very far, right?
Yeah.
Well, with singing, if you don't have your breathing down pat and you don't have those strong diaphragmatic muscles, the rest of, all of the belting and the fun, blah, 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 whatever riffs and runs you want to do, it's not going to work properly because you haven't got an engine. So, yeah, the very first thing that you should focus on as a new singer is making sure you get your breathing down pat. The problem that I see a lot of the time is that it's not the fun bit, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
People just want to skip to I just want to sound wicked.
Yep.
It doesn't work like that. You've got to do the foundation. You have to build the foundation, otherwise the house will fall down. So yeah, every new singer that comes to me, we do a lot of working on the diaphragm and the breathing, and getting to sort of. It's kind of like if you have you ever done any yoga or meditation or anything like that?
No, not personally, but I know people who do yoga and sort of swear by it.
Well, okay. Do you run or do any sport?
Yes, I've just been for a run earlier today. I've got lots of room for improvement on that topic as well. But
okay, so when you're running, have you ever tried to control your breathing?
Yes, definitely, yeah.
So what do you think happens when you try and control your breathing?
Well, I think in terms of, and I've not really given this any thought, but I guess when I'm trying to control my breathing, I'm trying to get into a steady, rhythmic sort of way of trying to get to go into a more consistent pace, I guess, and get more comfortable, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, have you ever noticed that if you do kind of manage to find a good rhythm with your breathing, that your running actually improves?
Yeah, again, having not really thought about it, I can imagine there's definitely a correlation there. Yep.
This is homework for you.
It is. Yep. I'm going to make a list.
Yeah. Next time you go for a run, whether it be tomorrow or whenever, I want you to think, okay, I'm going to see if I can control my breathing as I run, and then I'm going to become aware of how the rest of my body reacts to when my breathing is controlled. And I bet you anything, you will notice that your muscles feel stronger and you can run faster because you're controlling your breathing. And this is the power that singers have over their instruments, is once you can control your diaphragm, the rest of what you're going to be doing with your instrument, it just becomes so much easier. So, very first thing that any new singer needs to do is spend a lot of time on their breathing. And you kind of got to approach it as if it's kind of like a yoga or meditation thing. So you can kind of enjoy the experience, and it's not something that you just want to quickly skip over to get to the good stuff. If you actually enjoy the experience of feeling your diaphragm move, becoming aware of how the extra oxygen is affecting your body in a positive way, how you feel after doing a really good breathing session, it's going to be a lot more enjoyable, and you will get better results from it as well.
No, that makes absolute perfect sense. So I guess someone coming to this new, again, like you say, if it's someone who's just starting out on their journey, is it a case, and I genuinely don't know yet, is it a case that everyone's different, and therefore some people might need to initially work at this for 10 minutes a day, other people need to work at it for an hour a day? Is there a sweet spot in terms of how much you should be committing to this side of things?
Everybody is different because everybody's physical makeup is different. Some people do get their breathing a lot more easier. Some people have greater lung capacity. Some people do a lot of exercise and they think they're fit, but they've got really tight external muscles kind of restricting the movement of their diaphragm. And so I kind of take them through special massage and things like that, which can actually help loosen up the diaphragm so it can work properly. So yeah, everyone is very different in that respect. Sorry, what was the rest of the question?
No, that's
visualizing the massage that I usually do.
No, that's good stuff. So I guess just flowing on from that, and we can maybe come to the other vocal hacks later on, but if starting with the breathing side of things, is there a logical progression from that? So once someone's spent a bit of time, trying to nail that, what would be the logical next progression?
Well, I mean, it is something that you keep having to revisit. Like I still to this day do breathing exercises, and sometimes I kind of feel like you become so aware of your diaphragm that I'm like, my diaphragm's not working and my notes aren't coming out right. So I just do some extra breathing exercises. So you'll become aware of how much time you need to put into it before you can kind of move on. And then I guess the next step after really nailing your breathing, and you'll know when you've nailed your breathing because you'll be able to feel it. It's working on vocal tone from that point. It's kind of like, when someone learns the violin, the first thing that you've got to do is kind of make, like you're learning obviously kind of, the notes and muscle memory with the finger and the strings and all that sort of stuff, but you're working on getting a nice tone because the violin sounds bloody awful when you start playing it. The same thing with singers. But it's kind of like when you play the violin, to get a nice tone, you have to have a certain amount of confidence in the way that you bow. And it's the same kind of thing with singing. Your vocal tone will improve once you've kind of got a certain amount of muscle strength built up, and you'll be able to sing more confidently once you've got that muscle strength built up. A lot of people go in and try and do notes that are just too hard, or they try and sing with too much volume, and their muscles literally can't keep up. And so a lot of the vocal cracking and breaking and things like that you get are a result of weak vocal muscles. So you've got to basically get a nice vocal tone. The next step after getting your breathing is to work on muscle strength.
Okay. Right. No, that's interesting. So I guess similar sort of question. How would someone start to go about, improving muscle strength in that way?
I'm glad you asked. It's a series of different exercises. This is kind of where it becomes really customized for the student, because this is kind of where some singers hold a lot of vocal tension in different areas. Like they resonate their sound in a particular way, which causes vocal tension. So a lot of what I see is that people they resonate their sound in a way that causes too much friction on their vocal folds. So it causes their vocal folds to almost rub together too violently, which is why you get sore throats and, things like that. And you get that really nasty, harsh sound. So the type of vocal strengthening exercise that I would give to them would be more geared to helping them resonate in their head voice, for example, if you've heard the term chest voice, head voice. How to do this? It's actually very difficult to explain how. You kind of have to sing it, get them to match you, and kind of give them exercises that sort of almost trick them into doing it right. Because it's kind of like, I can't say to a singer, you're resonating in the wrong spot, you need to shift your resonance, because if you haven't learned how to shift your resonance, you've got no idea how to do that. So I'll kind of give you different exercises that will help you to start working your muscles and shifting the resonance into different spots, so you can become aware of how it actually feels when you're singing the correct way. And then once I can hear that you've actually established a healthy resonance, then I'll say, okay, see how that feels, and you feel quite free in the throat. Okay, now, but it's quite weak. Now we're going to do some basic sort of la 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 exercises and things just around those particular notes. And those are the exercises that help you to start strengthening. It is really quite concentrated stuff. It's by no means, just going and singing the scale all the way up and down again. I mean, yeah, we do some of that, but the really good stuff, the really high concentrated vocal strengthening stuff happens in with just a few notes up and down in these particular resonant spots, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's there's one part of your website that talks about your magic zone. So does that tie into?
Yeah, well, in a way, I mean, everyone has what I call the magic zone, which is it's kind of almost an octave of your most beautiful notes. So people have different vocal ranges. You know, we have basses, tenors, sopranos, yada yada. So everyone will have kind of like a sweet spot where it's really comfortable and natural for them to sing. And that's really your magic zone. And you want to start there because it's kind of the path of least resistance, because that's kind of the area where you're most likely to have the least vocal problems. And then from there, you can kind of expand it outwards. Yeah, but your magic zone shifts up and down throughout your singing career by a few notes. Age, health, things like that shifts it. I mean, it's not an exact science, and that's kind of part parcel of being a physical, living, breathing instrument.
No, good stuff. Okay, so say we've nailed breathing, but we're still practicing it all the time.
Uh-huh.
We've covered tone, and we've sort of explored that a bit. What does our singer look at next?
Well, then, I mean, it depends on the singer. I mean, because some people, I mean, you've always got to have an emphasis on the music, on the emotion behind the music, and the song delivery, because without that, it's just technique. You know, being able to sing clearly and have beautiful vocal tone and, you know, a nice resonant note and all the rest of it, that's just technique. Without the emotion, it's not music.
Yeah.
So there's always an emphasis on that throughout the entire sort of singing journey. And this is probably where it gets really frustrating for some people, though, because when you're a new singer and you're just developing your muscle strength and stuff, you quite often find that you can't express the song in the way that you want to, because you want to kind of bounce out that note and kind of go, yeah, you know, but you can't.
Yeah.
Muscles haven't caught up yet. So it's kind of working with singers to find other ways of expressing music that kind of works with where they're at sort of physically. It's kind of, you know, just think of yourself as like, you know, an athlete and kind of how heavy the weights you can lift, you know, at the time. Like, you don't want to go straight to like the really heavy weights because you're just going to injure yourself and then put yourself back to the start again. You want to kind of slowly get there. So there's always that. But then there's other things that you can focus on that do have, I suppose this is coming back to the hacks, that do have an immediate effect on how good you sound. And articulation is one of those things. So many singers mumble. And I'm guilty of it myself, actually. I'm a big mumbler. But articulating, so getting your mouth around the words and making sure that the audience can hear the lyrics, it's huge, and it makes such a massive difference straight away to how good you sound. Not only because, you know, the audience can understand what you're saying, but it makes your words come out sounding so much more clear.
Yeah, that totally resonates with me. There's so many different gigs that I've been to where, you know, you just can't really make out what is being sung, and it is so frustrating to be in the audience with so that totally makes sense.
Yeah, that's right. Because I mean, it doesn't matter how good the singer's vocal tone is, if you can't connect with that singer because you can't hear the lyrics, then it's like, what's the point? You might as well just be watching an instrumentalist.
Yeah.
You know, that's really what separates singers from other instruments, is the fact that we can sing lyrics, and people want to hear those lyrics.
Absolutely. And there was another bit I think that ties into that, which you speak about, you know, letting the microphone do the work, and reminding people that it's an amplification device, and I thought that was a really good point.
Well, yeah, I mean, I use this particularly, again, because I do focus on sort of jazz and blues and those sorts of genres, and its microphone technique is huge in those genres.
Yeah.
And, you know, obviously microphones are more important for some genres than others, like musical theatre, it's not as important, although, you know, they mic opera singers now these days, it's crazy.
Right.
But when you're starting out, you know, use all of the tools that you have available to you. So microphones is one of those tools, you know, so you don't have to push your muscles too hard because you can use the microphone to get the volume that you actually want. The best thing that a singer can do when they first start out is to go and get themselves a decent microphone, like a really good one. But you've got to go and try a whole bunch of different mics. When I first did one of my first recordings in the studio, I remember that the sound engineer didn't put any reverb or anything on my vocal, and his whole logic behind that was that I would work harder if I sounded like shit. But the fact is that if you think you sound good, you're actually going to sing better. So you will get more into the emotion of the song. You kind of get more into the delivery. So if you get yourself a really sweet microphone that works perfectly for your voice, and you'll have to go and try a whole heap out, and it's perfectly fine to spend a good couple of hours singing into the microphones down in your local music shop. That's what they're there for. It will instantly improve your performance because you'll feel like you sound better. And so you will sing better as a result.
No, great tip. So maybe it's one of the final vocal hacks that I really like that I wanted to touch on with you. So you talk about giving yourself somewhere to go in the music.
Yeah. This is huge. It's massive. It's such a common thing. So many people, they just start too loud. It's like you've got to ease people into it. I mean, it depends on the song. If you're singing Aretha Franklin's "Respect" or something like that, it does come in bang.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like a story. People can't go straight to the action sequence. They need to be given the exposition first. You've got to lead them there softly, and then when you get them to the action sequence, they're fully engaged. But if you don't give them the exposition, then not only have you kind of set this kind of bar of, okay, we're going to be action, and it's either going to have to be action all the way through or more action, or people are going to get disappointed. And it's kind of the same thing with your singing. If you come in too loud straight away and you kind of come in with all of this, but you can't deliver more than that, because, you're a new singer and your vocal has limitations at the time, because you haven't strengthened your muscles yet, yada, 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 then you're going to disappoint your audience because you've got nowhere to go. You've got no journey that you can take them on. And people don't want to hear monotone, just because it's loud and it's belting and you feel like you're, kind of coming up with the energy, doesn't mean that it's not flat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not monotone. You've got to have the light and the shade.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good point, and I'm sure something that we probably fell foul of in certain instances when back in the day when we were doing it. So I think that's a really good point. So look, Nicola, I'm conscious of time, and there's so much I think we could sort of talk about, and I think this has been really useful for listeners. The music community in general tend to get involved with good causes or have something particularly close to the heart, whether it's a charity or something, not necessarily music related. So is there anything that you've either been involved in or a charity that you support that you'd want to mention? It's just part of the show that we're looking to spread the word and get...
It's a really lovely thing, actually. I like that. It's nice. It's like using the platform to spread the love. It's good.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, personally, I always, I love animal charities. I'm the biggest animal lover.
Okay, yeah.
So I support WASPA and PETA, those sorts of things. Animals Australia is another one. The koalas, they need our help. But I don't know, I'm a sucker for pretty much all of them, Bali Dog Fund, all these different ones. So if you want to give to an animal charity, speak for those who do not have voices themselves, and you would make me happy.
No, I like that, and that's a nice vocal reference, I guess, for the episode. No, good stuff.
Use that as a lyric in an upcoming song.
I like it. Well, look, Nicola, thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you, and I'm sure there's some great content for our listeners.
Yeah, no, I'm really glad that I had this opportunity. If you want to see more of my stuff, just head on over to singersecret.com. I've got some free warm-ups there that you can come and grab, and I'll sort of guide you through opening your voice up and learning to control your vocal muscles and all the rest of that sort of stuff.
Absolutely, that's great, and we'll put links in the show notes to your website as well.
Sounds good. Great.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, and we'll hopefully speak soon.
I've got a question for you, James, after that. As the singer, what was the first thing you thought of and went, that's a light bulb I wish I'd turned on about 14 years ago?
Well, the first light bulb part really was, well, I wish I'd actually done some research on, or given any of this some thought. Like I say, I was too hell-bent on trying to book the next gig or write better lyrics, or which were all important in their own right.
Yes.
I just wish I'd sort of given some thought to improving my voice. And I think when Nicola was talking about, strengthening your muscles, I mean, muscles to me would have been like the calf muscles that I used to play football.
Yeah, or like muscle
the biceps
muscles. Yeah.
that I don't have.
Yeah.
Obviously, there is muscles that you use to sing, and that was the one thing which I was like, I wish I'd actually given that some time.
So I liked this interview. It was the first one I wasn't part of at the time.
That's true. You weren't in on it.
I was unavailable, and I like how we're like doing an episode with an artist who is in a band or what have you, like that people may know, and then going to a person who's like part of the other side of music. And I found this very interesting because I had no research on vocals prior, because I didn't really have to, and I probably should have, but also as like the whole science behind it as well. And I like listened to it. I was thinking, because this is the inside of how I was listening to it. I was doing the dishes when you sent it through.
Right.
And I was like stopping every 2 seconds and writing a note down. And when we're doing the interviews with whoever, you can kind of remember the key points and such. But I had like a whole page before I knew it, and it's what, 28 minutes. This one, it's not massively long, but it's not short by any stretch of imagination. So I had a fair few points on it, and that was the same thing, especially when it came to because we both run, and we both play football. Well, you play football a lot more than me, and are a lot more talented at football than me. But that's a similar thing in my opinion, because we all play football, and we all play football. We all play football. You think, well, I just get up there and play, and sometimes it goes in, and sometimes the pass goes this way. You don't I didn't really spend a great deal of time hitting the ball against the wall to make sure my 10-yard pass was great.
But that's the thing. But whereas I did, and obviously I got better at playing that because I practiced it and played it pretty much every day of my life growing up. And how often did I practice singing? Not often enough.
I bet you did, but I think there's two bits. You probably sang along to insert album, but not giving it six notes.
But that's it. It's very different.
It is,
to just singing along to something in the car that's on the radio versus actually singing.
Yeah, what properly. Notes are they hitting? What pitch they're in?
It is completely different, and just from. And I like the sort of logical way of how the interview progressed in terms of starting from getting your breathing sorted first, and it was like, great tip.
Yeah, because have you ever tried? You probably haven't, but if you try and do rap karaoke,
I have not. No.
Like the breathing skills that rappers must have must just be outstanding. Because when you sing along to tunes, it's kind of like there's spaces in for the singer, but rap music, obviously, or hip hop, there's not many spaces, and you just forget to breathe.
Well, that's a good point in general. Actually, when I used to write lyrics, and you'd all come up with whatever the latest tune was, I'd often have to try and rewrite the lyrics because the way I'd written it, I was like, well, I can't. There's no point for us to breathe in that section, and stuff like that I'd never really
Yes, you did do that a few times.
thought about. But as soon as, like you've said a few times, the learning curve's pretty steep when you start a band, and there was times where I'd be like, no, there's too many syllables in that word. I can't get it out in that portion of the song.
But it's a really important word.
Yeah, but it really has to be that word. How am I going to... and you do have to factor in when you're actually going to breathe during the course of the song.
It's hard. Because I know some bands write the music first and then put the lyrics to it. And some people put the lyrics and put music to the lyrics. They've got the singer's got a tune in. But if you do them independently of each other, it's quite a skill. And to be honest, that worked in our favour and detriment, because if the skills that the three of us in the instrument side of the band had, if we had a certain set...
This is an instrument as well, right?
Yeah, okay, the physical instruments. If we had to change the way we were playing something, it's probably not going to happen. This is set in stone now. And I don't mean as in adding bits and changing just nuances of it, quite tricky. And that might be the case, but for us it was kind of as in, can you not just find out how to breathe some other time?
And following on from your initial question, just working on the diaphragm. I mean, Nicola's saying, she works on these things every single day. It's a constant thing, and even once you've got better at controlling your breathing and you've built up some of those muscles, it's like anything. If you haven't been to the gym for a couple of weeks and then you go back, it's a lot harder. And it's the same really with the vocal muscles. And
if it's like anything like fitness, like running, for example, it takes a certain time to get that fit. Yeah. And you lose it in a fraction of the time.
Yeah, and that's something I didn't think much about at the time, but it did if we hadn't practiced for a while.
A couple of weeks, yeah.
It would take a little bit longer to get in.
And that's one of the advantages from a guitarist has, because if I hadn't got practice in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a gig in a month maybe, I can always pick the guitar up and still work on that muscle memory, what Nicola said. Yeah. Still, and then maybe learn some other stuff, play it quicker or whatever.
I like that stuff about muscle memory like that. Just slowing things down. And that comparison, if you try and learn a really fast riff on the guitar, off the bat, no, you'd learn it extremely slowly to start with. Yeah. And doing that same thing with your vocal, that just made sense.
Yeah, totally. That bit, I think the vocalist is sometimes at a disadvantage by themselves as well. Like all these things you either neglect to do or just don't do, or I can do it because everyone sings. There's a lot more to it, a lot of science to it, and a lot of physicality to it. But even in the professionals, don't do it, because a lot of people go in for nodule operations. You'll be in the papers all the time when someone has to cancel a show because of what have you, and it's because they don't do this. According to this article I was reading, they don't do this part of it. Yeah. And you could actually not need the operation just by doing this thing, or even just starting again. And I get a point of, I mentioned before about Chester Benton as an example, because he blasted out lyrics, but it was always tuneful as well, because he must have had to work at it. But if I was to go and, let's just say I didn't run for 6 months, and then I'd go out and think, in fact this is a prime example, 1 year did a run very well, the following year didn't train as much, tried to run the same pace. After 8 miles, I was seeing stars. If you are a new singer and think, right, what can I pick up? I really like Linkin Park. I might sing something like Crawling, which starts off slow, but the chorus is big. You're going to hurt your throat, put yourself off, go, might learn the guitar instead. Does anyone need a bass player?
Totally. Another bit that she mentioned, which I thought was a great point, is that you might have written particular set of lyrics, and you've got the music there to go to it and everything, but you can't actually sing it the way that you really want to convey the emotion of what you've written. Yeah. And it could take a while for you to be able to get to the point where you can just convey the emotion of what you're trying to sing about, which again I hadn't.
Did that ever happen with any of ours? If you had a certain song in your head, and then either myself or Simon or Rob came with using major chords, and it was a bit bouncy and a bit happy, and you thought, well, this song's about this subject. I can't sing these lyrics to this like really
I think
indie pop tune rather than like a Joy Division-esque type tune.
It only came later on, I think, when I started to.
You learn, no?
Well, yeah, give a bit more thought to how I deliver certain songs. I mean, initially, just sing whatever came out, just trying to make it go with the tune.
There's definitely some examples of you doing that by yourself as well, like in some of the songs you recorded by yourself. It's the same thing.
Yeah, and then eventually you start to think about the actual delivery of the song, which ties on to another part that Nicola mentioned, was giving yourself somewhere to go. Right? If you just start out full guns blazing, like all the way, the song needs to go somewhere. And are you're really going to maintain your level?
You need elements of grey, don't you?
Yeah, and so I thought that was a good point. And I mean, in general, we'll put links to the show notes to our site. There's all sorts of great tips.
I looked at a couple beforehand as well.
Some obvious, some less obvious.
The obvious ones are the hardest ones to think of.
Well, often, yeah. But it's definitely worth spending some time reviewing, because there's some great content, and Nicola was really good.
One of the points she did mention it, and because she teaches, and you can tell by her delivery of how she was talking to you, and she gave you homework.
Yes, indeed. Which I did, by the way. The last time I went running, I did give a lot more content. I think I probably always think a little bit about breathing when I'm running, but I think it's like a lot of things for me. I'll start thinking about my breathing, I'll start thinking about my form and how I'm running, and then eventually, after I've gone so many miles, a lot of that will just go out the window. But I was sort of giving it more of a conscious sort of thought, and it did help. The final thing I was going to mention was about microphones, because there's, I mean, the audience will very quickly be thinking, how the hell did this pair ever get any form of success with that band? The amount of things that we didn't actually give much thought to, but
part of the process now.
But microphone was another one. I had one, a few different ones, and they were half decent. Spent a bit of money on, but I never spent any time really going trying them out. Yeah. And again, the same way that you wouldn't just, hopefully not, just go and pick any guitar off the shelf and go, right, that's the one. You'd take it down, you'd have a play,
how heavy is it?
What it feels like. Same with microphone. So I think that was a very valid point, to do a bit of research, have a try of a number of different ones and see which one works for you. Because again, Nicola was saying, she focuses a lot on the jazz type of style, and there'll be particular microphones that work better for certain types of vocal delivery. So figuring out what it is that's best for you.
I definitely did similar things with amps. The first like gig worthy amp I bought, I went, that's a decent price, but it was rough, it was tinny, extra £50, which is a lot of money. Got a nice Marshall, and that was the exact tone I wanted for the guitar for our sound, basically. But yeah, that first one, I think I sold that on actually. It was all right, but it just backs up my point. Yeah. Didn't test it out. I thought, 250 quid, that'll do the job. It'll do. Yeah, it'll do. A little bit extra work.
And it didn't do.
It didn't. I don't think we actually used it for much, and it was heavy as well. But yeah, I wouldn't know where to start with buying a good microphone. So yeah, going and testing them is not a bad shout at all.
Not a bad idea at all.
Especially when I spend a lot of money on them.
Oh yeah, it's like anything. These things aren't cheap.
Last thing from me, just shout out to all the animal charities that you follows. I think that's come up a couple of times.
And I like the bit that give a voice to those who don't have a voice. That was.
Well, you should have finished it then. That was spot on.
So before I mention next week's episode, I just want to give a quick congratulations to Ben after there was a new addition to the Steele family this week. So as much as I like to poke fun at him, this is one of those things that I'm just genuinely chuffed to bits about. So I'm sure you'll all join me in saying congratulations and all the best to Ben and his family on that one. Now, for next week's episode, we have the truly unique Mr. B, the Gentleman Rapper, where we'll discuss creating and living a persona, DIY management, and tailored merchandise.
We've reached the end of this week's episode of Anyone Can Play Guitar podcast.
Big thank you for tuning in, and remember to stop by iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts from and subscribe so that you never miss an episode.
While you're there, it would be amazing if you could leave a rating and a review.
All the show notes can be found at www.acpgmusic.com, and if you want to get in touch,
email us your questions, any feedback and any suggestions to info@acpgmusic.com.
That's it for now. Keep supporting upcoming artists,
and we'll catch you next time.